When it comes to this schedule, we are going to be at the Kansas State game. This is true, Saul.
This is true.
Okay, now everybody's talking about Kansas State and Utah, and rightfully so. Because listen, there's a myriad of different possibilities. If Arizona wins both those games, then guess what? You're going to be in the top 5 to 6 in the country at that time, and we're talking about the college football playoffs. If Arizona goes 1-1, I think we're kind of where we are, which is not a bad thing. If Arizona loses both those games, then you got to start picking up some games elsewhere. But we talked about that a lot. What are you, when you look at this schedule, what are the trap games? What are the games you're like, that one worries me a little bit. I know that we're going to have one of the same, but I also know that at the same time, there's a couple other ones that I'm looking at and I'm like, all right, don't really want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. Because again, some of these teams, you might not look at them as being ranked, but they can definitely beat Arizona, and they've got some of the possibilities of being able to do that. That is what
I agree. Here, let's take a look at the schedule. Let's see what games I would be concerned about. This sounds stupid because BYU is picked to finish last in the conference, but at BYU, I feel like is always kind of like a shady kind of game.
Right.
West Virginia at home could be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Because West Virginia is kind of a sleeper pick for a lot of people. And then I don't know what to expect out of TCU. I don't expect big things, but on the road towards the end of the season, depending on what you have going on and what's on the line, it could be a trap game of sorts if you got a lot on the line. And I could see that being a kind of a difficult game. Plus, they don't even know if they're playing on the 23rd or the 24th that day. So I don't know. So it's going to be, I think those are Colorado. Listen, we're going to beat the shit out of Colorado.
Nice. Yes.
Just straight up. That's for you, Buffs fans.
Show clip.
Come to the old Pueblo. You're going to leave with a Winnebago broken down. I promise you that.
Here, all the Twitter yapping. You got to come to Tucson for that one. I like that very much there, Saul. Also,
what did Michael Jordan used to say? He said, yeah, it's all well and good that they beat us this game or they beat us that game, but they all got to come through Chicago.
You got to come through Tucson, my man. I love it.
Glenn, in Tucson.
Glenn, one of the coolest ASU people out there. Say it with your chest, Saul. No, he did say it with his chest. It was very robust. It was very impressive. Okay, now I got a couple games. TCU to me is an interesting one because you have the how do I put this? It's right before the ASU game. I don't know exactly what to expect. I think you hit the nail on the head with that because keep in mind, this is a team that's a year removed from the national championship game. Sonny Dykes is a good coach. I got a lot of respect for what he's been able to do, but that game worries me a little bit just because it's right before the ASU game. And then obviously, I don't know if it's a trap game or not because everybody should know about it, but UCF. I mean,
yeah, the space. I don't consider that a sleeper pick because I just think that that's going to be a tough game no matter what. And if UCF won that game, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, so I don't feel like they're so vastly an inferior team that we should be on upset alert kind of thing. I think that they have all the ability to be able to beat anybody in the conference.
And that's why I think it's very important to get one of those two games on the road to start the season, Kansas State or Utah, because here's the thing. If you win one of those games, I think you have the capability to, you get yourself a little bit of a margin for error. But in my opinion, if the goal is the college football playoffs and you lose both of those games, you don't have much margin for error at that point going on. Now, granted, only one of those games is a conference game. I get it. But you don't have a ton of margin for error at that point. That's why I think it's very important to steal one of those games. Whether it's Kansas State or Utah, don't care. Got to get one of them.
I'm sorry. I was distracted by the little conversation going on over here. Say that again.
Oh, what's going on? Fill us in.
No. I think Shane just told Totri what I just said about CU Buffs. So.
Oh yeah, but no, that's very good. Yes,
Totri loves his Colorado slander, so I just figured
yeah,
happy to hear that.
Colorado slander, exactly. So it's a lot of good stuff. But what were we talking about? That's why to me it's just imperative, Saul, that you got to steal one of those two games. Yes. Don't care which one, you got to steal one of them because then if I play against UCF, then I want to win the game, but it doesn't totally derail my season. But if you got both those, you basically, you come close to needing to win out if you want to get in the college football playoffs.
Oh yeah, no, you lose both those, you definitely have to win out at that point. Like you have no margin for error whatsoever. So, or at least find yourself, you got to get into the Big 12 championship game somehow, some way. Right. And that's probably going to mean that you have to listen, you have one, if you lost both of those games, fortunately for us, that's only one conference game that you dropped out of the two.
Yeah,
that would be Utah. And
so
that's
if
it,
that
because
happens,
K-State
yes.
doesn't count. So you might be okay, because if you get into the Big 12 championship game and you win the Big 12 championship game, then that's an automatic bid and you're all good to go. But I agree with you. They got to take one, if not both. I think if they take both, then you give yourself a lot of room for error in the last, 8 games of the season after that. And I like my chances, going 6-2 feels like that should easily be done.
And honestly, if you have to drop one of those games, even though we're going to be at Kansas State, and I would prefer to have them win, because I think that doesn't count as a conference game. So I would like to, I need to get in the Big 12 championship game. So if you had to drop one of those two, I would rather drop Kansas State than drop Utah, just for obvious reasons.
We all silly like the mayor.